right, everybody, we are back. Brand new Cabral Concept, episode 3350. Today's our Total Wellness Tuesday, episode of the week. We're going to be going over why you get tingliness or itchiness on your skin, maybe after exercising or in the sauna. So I want to talk about this here today. It is a very common question we get on the weekend Cabral house calls, and we really want to put together a list of possibilities for you because remember, there's never just one underlying root cause. Typically, there's multiple ones it could be, and it comes out, it manifests itself as particular symptoms. In this case, itchiness or tingling on the skin. I have 6 main reasons, 6 to 7 that I'm going to share with you here today, and then we're going to help you narrow this down and get rid of this once and for all. So the first and foremost is a circulatory issue. If you are someone and you wake up in the morning and typically you're fine for maybe the first few minutes or so, but after you get going, you start to get itchiness or tingling on your ankles or maybe your hands, the outside extremities, right? So basically we have our torso, our core, and then we have our limbs or extremities off of that. Now, when you're sleeping, the blood flow, especially in the legs, like the ankles and calves, it may not flow as well back up to the heart. It may start to pool a little bit more in the legs. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's dangerous or anything like that, but the blood flow isn't moving as well. We'll talk about the lymph later, which can be stagnant as well. So as you start to get moving, maybe heat from the shower or you're doing exercise in the morning, that increase in circulation from blood pooling there actually can start to create a little bit of that tingling as well, but usually it goes away within about 5 minutes or so of getting that body acclimated to heat or movement and recirculating that blood. If this sounds like you, and I'll kind of recap more of this at the end, try maybe when you first wake up to do some hip swings or just gentle movements to get the blood flowing. You might even just do some gentle calf raises to pump the blood through the gastrocnemius, that's the big calf muscle in the back, the soleus and gastroc, back up to the heart. Or you could even do basically an adrenal soothing pose where you put your legs up the wall and you allow the blood flow to come back down. There's all sorts of different ways to do this. Dry brushing, but that can sometimes cause tingliness as well. We'll talk about that, why that in a minute. Or just gently stroking from the ankles up towards the knee, and that can move the blood flow. All right, so that's the first one. And that is essentially waking up, circulatory issue, and being able to get going, sometimes called orthostatic hypotension, blood flow not necessarily moving yet, temporarily pooling in the lower legs. All right, the next one is more nerve related. Now, today is not a neuropathy-based show, but some people have constant nerve pain, and it can feel like tingling and or itchiness. This is a deeper root cause. This is something that needs to be properly dealt with because your body may not be in proper biomechanical order, meaning like the vertebrae might be out of alignment. You may have had an injury like whiplash or something. And so that should be corrected by a medical-based professional. There are a lot of great osteopathic doctors out there. There's a lot of great chiropractors out there that are able to properly assess the body and get it back into proper working order. Now, I always do say I'm not an advocate. I'm an advocate of chiropractic, but I'm not an advocate of going to your chiropractor once or twice a week for 10 years. Like that, to me, I don't know. I don't think that necessarily makes sense. I think that you can get an adjustment if needed, maybe even better, some active release technique, Graston, etc. But then you're also following that up with strengthening based exercises to pull the cervical vertebrae, maybe the neck back for posture, open up your kyphosis, meaning rounded front forward shoulders, which a lot of us have working over a computer all day, or lordosis, which is basically a lordotic curve in the lower back. So all of those things can be fixed, should be fixed. We're not going to really go into nerve impingement today, but if it is chronic tingliness, you want to work on that for sure with a qualified medical professional. All right, the next one is kind of a 1-2 punch. I'm just going to include it as one because the second part can trigger the first. So that is histamine-based issues. This is one of the most common things that I see in my practice because I work with a lot of Th2 dominant individuals. They have allergies, they have food sensitivities, they've got gut issues, they have sometimes asthma, they've got skin rashes, they have brain fog, a lot of the humoral-based Th2 dominance, which is basically what I just named, all the chemical-based sensitivities, even just to nature as well. Well, what happens is the body can start to produce more mast cells, and that's creates what is called degranulation of histamines, right? So when histamines begin to move through the body, they create little bits of inflammation in the body, and especially on the skin. So that's a big part of it, right? Our skin is our barrier to the outside world, and it's also part of our peripheral nervous system. So that tingliness is not uncommon with mast cell activation syndrome or histamine intolerance. There's all sorts of different names for it, MCAS, etc. But what I want to share with you is this: there's always an underlying root cause to that. Most people with high histamine, myself included in that when I was in my teens and 20s, had a really imbalanced gut. So I had candida overgrowth, I had SIBO, I also had H. pylori, plus a whole lot of leaky gut. All of that needed to be fixed. Then I could fix my immune system. You can't fix your immune system when your intestines are constantly spilling out all sorts of different pathogens, and they have lots of inflammation based on food sensitivities, etc. All right, so that is a big one, but that causes itchiness and it causes tingliness. So if you go in a sauna or you begin to exercise and you heat up the body, well, both heat and or circulation stimulation can activate histamines. Just going out in the sun, believe it or not, can activate a larger histamine-based release. So that can be a big part of it. And then the other part is, as you are exercising, as you are sweating in the sauna, it can also release toxins from the body. And finally, we're at the stage where we can actually talk about this. We were talking about this like 20 years ago, and everybody's like, oh, toxins are a made-up thing. But now, of course, everybody's on board. Like, yes, this is a real thing. There are over 300 million tons of man-made toxins released in the environment on an annual basis. Just over 70 years ago, it was only 15 million. Again, that's still a lot, but nowhere near where it is, of course, today. All right. So what does that mean? Well, as these things begin to hit the bloodstream, that can also increase histamine-based release as well as they target heavy metals and environmental toxins. All right. Number 4 is dry skin or skin-based sensitivity. Let's say of eczema or rosacea, eczema or rosacea, or you have psoriasis. The skin is dry, you begin to sweat, you begin to get hot, it can be irritated. All of those things can cause an itchiness as well. I would not say this is in the category of all of the others. If you have a skin rash, you know why. If that skin rash gets itchy, again, you know why. Could it be exacerbated by heat or exercise? Yes, but it's a totally different story. And again, if you listen to my podcast on eczema, you'll realize that it's really food sensitivity based. Yes, some of it is gut permeability, but 9 times out of 10, we get rid of it with removing the food sensitivities. Now, all of these labs, by the way, are to test your gut and hormones and all sorts of things are at stevencabral.com/shop. It takes you over to our virtual functional medicine practice. And you can see all of the labs right there. You can either work with myself and my team, or you can also go to integrativehealthpractitioner.org. We have no relation to any of the practitioners. You can also work with them as well. And there are thousands all around the world. All right. So that is that. And then, so that's eczema, but psoriasis is autoimmune and stress based. And we've, again, 9 times out of 10, fixed that the same exact way. And so really important. Again, I don't want to belittle any of these, right, at all, but everything has an underlying root cause and everything can be healed. It doesn't mean it's healed in a day, but it absolutely can and will be healed as long as you're working the plan. And that is finding out your deficiencies, your toxicities, and beginning to replace your deficiencies, remove your toxicities. The body will begin to heal itself. Remember, the practitioner helps you to put your body into balance, giving it what it needs and what it needs to take out. But your body is the thing that heals and all of its innate wisdom. All right, 2 more to go. The 5th one is the lymph system. Remember, it's so important. I teach this a lot in IHP, but the lymphatic system is what moves and mobilizes all of the waste from your body. Not just environmental toxins, that's part of it, but all the waste throughout the body. But the thing is, unlike your blood, which has its heart and it has its peripheral system down near the calves to kind of push the blood along, the lymphatic system doesn't have that. Furthermore, it's essentially a one-way street. And so things can get congested, at those rotaries, which are essentially the lymph nodes. So what we want to be able to do is work on that lymph on a daily basis, not massive amounts, but a little bit of rebounding, or if you don't have a rebounder, which is essentially a mini trampoline, you can just do some jump roping or jumping jacks if you want for 30 to 60 seconds, 2-3 times, that's it. Or you can do dry brushing, or you can do manual lymph drainage. Sauna will help with it. Exercise will help with it. So all of these things will help for the lymph. And that's one of the reasons why sauna and exercise are so important. It's not just for getting in shape. It's literally longevity based because you're helping with like all causes, right? So you're helping with removing toxins through the skin. You're helping with heat and heat shock proteins. You're helping to cardiovascularly improve the cardiovascular system by moving the body into a zone 2. So it's all of these things that are really, really great. But sluggish lymphatic system, stuck in the extremities, because that's usually where it's stuck, especially the legs, can cause that itchiness and or tingliness. All right, the last one is this. It can be high or low B vitamins. So believe it or not, B6 and B12 are the two most common reasons for itchiness or tingliness in the extremities. Now, if you get more than 200 milligrams of B6 per day, you could be getting too much. B12, you can dose that one a whole lot higher. However, some people are just more sensitive, and so they're not going to do well at a very high dose. Now, I will say that getting that much B6 is rare. Most activated B complexes are 25 or 50 milligrams. So you would literally have to take 4 servings of that, which you could do. I mean, some people could be doing it. There's no doubt about it. So that's why I wanted to raise this. But even if you added up all of your supplements that had B6, they're usually not going to be more than 100 milligrams per day. Now, for any of these, you can start slow and work your way up. But most people, honestly, this is the number one B vitamin that we've seen deficient in our practice. And we've run tens of thousands of vitamin and mineral-based tests. So I can tell you for sure, that's one of the number one. It's actually not B12. B12 is a great one, don't get me wrong, but I actually recommend taking all of your B vitamins together in something like the activated B complex that we use in our practice. All right, the next one probably isn't, but by the way, those, again, it can be too low, right? So that's another reason. And all of these things help the immune system, they help mast cells, etc. All right, magnesium deficiency, probably not a new one to you. You've heard all about the great things that magnesium can help with. A lot of people say that it helps with over 300 enzymatic transformations in the body. It's actually over 600. So magnesium helps with so many things in the body, including the production of energy and your skin, your hair, your nails, all of these things. It is a must-have mineral and nutrient, and we use it in a 3-part. So we call it full spectrum magnesium. You're getting lysine, you're getting citrate, and you're getting glycinate as well, and actually malate. And the reason is that you don't always know which form your body's going to absorb the best. And so what we took is the most absorbable form and put it into full spectrum magnesium. This is not one that causes loose stool or for constipation. This is one for high absorbency, mainly for the nervous system, right? That's one of the biggest things. All right, so that's the next one. And then electrolyte imbalance. Some people can get that tingliness from sweat. So if you're sweating and out comes more salt or sodium, that could actually cause a little bit of itchiness for certain individuals. Now, maybe they're not hydrated as well as they should. Maybe they have higher levels of sodium to potassium. So all of those things need to be balanced. For that, I actually recommend running what's called a minerals and metals test. This will tell you your mineral balances, not just the total minerals, but the balances of calcium and magnesium, from sodium to potassium, and from magnesium to sodium. 3 really important ratios besides the copper to zinc. All right. So again, all of these are at stephencabral.com/shop. That'll take you over to EcoLife, and you could work with any practitioner you want. I just want to see that all of these are available to you. So the goal is, based on what I shared with you here today, when does it happen for you? And if you can't really pinpoint it, maybe it's a vitamin or mineral deficiency. If you can pinpoint it, okay, maybe it's circulatory, maybe it's lymphatic. Does it really only happen with heat? Oh, okay, we can start to narrow these things down. So based on that, that's how we work in our practice as well, because you don't necessarily want to work on all 6, right? You want to be able to narrow it down to what it most likely may be. Lab testing does help with that, but of course, you might not be able to do that or want to do that, so you can start to work at a single source. Please let me know if there's any follow-up questions. I'm always happy to do follow-up shows. I do a daily show for our community. And if you ever have an individual question, you can always ask at stephencabral.com/askcabral. Have an amazing day, everybody. Talk with you soon. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.